Similar to the phrase, "Make America Great Again," the Proud Boys is nothing but a far-right dog whistle that hides its racist and bigoted tentacles under a watered-down, family-friendly image. And believe me, I cringe when I associate the image of the Proud Boys with anything family-friendly, but when you consider the fact that Trump felt comfortable enough to signal to them during the presidential debates in front of millions of American families, you have to acknowledge the fact that millions of American families do agree that, hey, if the president thinks the Proud Boys are good people, then so do I. And I get it. There's kind of a folksy innocence to the name, the Proud Boys. But in the same way, Fat Man and Little Boy sound like cutesy names to call two atomic bombs, the Proud Boys is just a cutesy way to euphemize modern-day nativists and anti-immigrant assholes. But instead of talking about the Proud Boys from the outside looking in, let's look at this from the belly of the beast. Let's hear about the Proud Boys from the man himself, the co-founder of Vice Media and the founder of the Proud Boys, Gavin McInnes. Quote, "We will kill you. We seem soft. We have boys in our name. But like Bill the Butcher and the Bowery Boys, we will assassinate you." End quote. If the name Bill the Butcher sounds familiar, that's because it is. In 2002, Leonardo DiCaprio, Daniel Day-Lewis, and Martin Scorsese worked on a movie called The Gangs of New York, and it was about the real historic feud that happened between the Irish Catholic immigrant gang known as the Dead Rabbits and the nativist Protestants led by Bill the Butcher Cutting, a character based off of the real-life Bill the Butcher, William Poole, who was the founder of the Bowery Boys. Now, William Poole and the Bowery Boys were part of a prosperous, well-to-do working class that consisted of firemen, butchers, and men who had trade skills. These men were organized under the beliefs that they were all anti-Catholic, they were anti-Irish, and they were anti-immigrant. The Bowery Boys believed that their wages were starting to decline because immigrants were coming in and that they were cheapening the value of labor. In other words, their employers refused to pay them a higher wage, so they blamed the immigrant working class and not their bosses. This bullshit logic didn't make sense back when the Bowery Boys did it, and it doesn't make sense in 2020 when the Proud Boys do it either. But there is an important key distinction between the Bowery Boys and the Proud Boys, and it has to do with their deep hatred of women. The Proud Boys have famously cringed this phrase into existence. Quote, "I am a Western Chauvinist and I refuse to apologize for creating the modern world." End quote. And while you might wince at the sound of chauvinist being used positively, the Proud Boys refer to chauvinism as simply an expression of extreme patriotism. And yeah, that is the dictionary definition, but as you dig deeper into how the Proud Boys actually use these terms, you start to realize that there's a lot more bullshit behind this false sense of patriotism. For starters, the Proud Boys believe that there is a war on masculinity. They feel like the modern man is held back by feminism and that the pay gap is a myth to oppress men. They're convinced that PC culture has made their lives harder and that the only way to free themselves from the oppressive grasp of women and feminism is to not masturbate. I'm not kidding. That is an actual thing. The Proud Boys are subscribers to the no FAP rule, which means members aren't allowed to masturbate. The land of The Proud Boys, they believe that porn is a byproduct of the liberal culture, and masturbation is a testosterone succubus designed to steal the vigor and energy of men. Again, I wish I was fucking kidding. These dudes really do think that masturbation is a sin that is going to zap out your masculine juice, preventing you from becoming the next Bill Gates. It sounds like bullshit, because it is bullshit. The nofap thing is not about preserving your masculine energy. It is a form of social control that manipulates members into thinking that their own feelings and desires should come behind the supposed will of the Proud Boys. In other words, it's just cult-like mentality. Once you bring them to this level of commitment where they're suppressing their own sexual desires, you've basically earned the master key to their brain, and you can convince these gullible clowns into doing everything about the Proud Boys, from their name to the rules within the organization, is a branding of something bigoted and selfish and self-serving. And it all boils down to ignorant entitlement. The same sense of entitlement that William Poole and the Bowery Boys felt towards immigrants is the same sense of entitlement that Gavin McInnes and the Proud Boys feel about women, immigrants, and progressives. The Proud Boys call themselves proud to be American, but none of them have any idea why our problems exist. These men are so convinced that the world is burning and that women and black people and SJWs are throwing this country into a fire, and that the changes we see in our economy and in our culture and in our workplace exist because of these marginalized people. What's really happening, though, is they're experiencing, with all of us, the steady, predictable decline of America's standard of living, the rise of late-stage capitalism, and the beginning of the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Let me put this in a language that the Proud Boys can understand. Your life isn't changing because feminists and trans people and BLM are out here unraveling the fabric of society. Your life is changing because you're like the millions of Americans who've been burnt by our crushing system. And when I say system, I'm talking about the entirety of our culture, our country. I'm talking about our work culture, our education system, and our political system. I am talking about America's aggressive work culture. And the fact that companies like Walmart are worth billions of dollars, and they are allowed to pay their employees so little that they qualify for government benefits like welfare and food stamps. I'm talking about the imbalance between how much it costs to live and exist and be healthy in America versus the amount of money the average American worker can earn by working for an American company. I'm talking about the millions of Americans who are struggling every month trying to decide whether or not their income should go to insulin, or healthcare expenses, or college debt, or food in the fridge, or childcare. So let's revisit that lovely motto of theirs. Quote, "I'm a Western chauvinist, and I refuse to apologize for creating the modern world." End quote. Fourth Industrial Revolution. Crushing income inequality and income insecurity, a complete failure to meaningfully address the coronavirus. Are you still proud of this modern Western world? Because pride implies content. Are you content with the way America treats its people? Because if so, then I feel like we are living in two completely different versions of America. Look, if these people were really proud, if they were proud in the super patriotic sense that they are trying to talk about, then they wouldn't be out here stabbing American women in the ear. They wouldn't be trying to jump American people for expressing their freedom of speech to say fuck Trump, because they'd recognize that these individual people aren't the issue. America is way too enormous for any one of us to take down, and even if the Proud Boys teamed up with Antifa in some weird alternative universe crossover, we still wouldn't have the human power to stop the plundering of the American standard of living in the onset of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, because true power is having access to wealth and capital, and neither the Proud Boys or Antifa have enough of it. If the Proud Boys were really proud of being American, they'd be punching automated manufacturing for displacing American workers. They would punch tax loopholes for allowing executives to skim billions off the top while leaving their employees trapped in minimum wage. They would punch everyone in the Trump administration for the mishandling of coronavirus and the spread of nationwide coronavirus misinformation, which has led to the deaths of thousands and thousands of Americans. These are the forces killing Americans. Your grandpa didn't die because a feminist sliced him with a rainbow sickle. He died because he got injured at the job, and he was out for too long, and his healthcare expenses became too much to handle, and the state just let him die. Your aunt didn't lose her job at the office because some radical BLM activist canceled her on Twitter. She lost her job because the company wanted to cut costs, and your aunt was seen as disposable. Being a Proud Boy isn't about opening your third eye to the world of feminism and PC culture and the radical left. Being a Proud Boy is about deliberately shielding yourself from America's unfolding. You call yourselves patriotic, but the people you spend all your time harassing, the SJWs, the feminists, the radical black activists, all of them are now doing more work to uplift this country than you. They are the ones who are out here running mutual aid funds and food drives to support their local communities. They are the ones who are committing their lives to social work and improving the lives of people who have fallen through the cracks of America's system. Kind of weird, right? Aren't the Proud Boys supposed to be the patriots? Why aren't they the ones on the front lines of this war against average American people? Why aren't they the ones setting up tents for homeless people and running nationwide soup kitchens to help the unemployed? Weird, right? Aren't the Proud Boys supposed to be the ones who are the true patriots? Whether you are putting bed sheets over a white supremacist or a Fred Perry polo on a fascist, you are still putting lipstick on a pig. The brand image of the Proud Boys isn't really what matters. What matters are the ideas that they talk about, the ideologies that spread throughout the culture. William Poole is dead. Gavin McInnes isn't even a part of the Proud Boys anymore. And yet the movement towards fascism and the far right, the movement towards misogyny and anti-immigration marches forward. This movement grows stronger. And for generations to come, these ideologies will continue to live in the minds of young people, oftentimes impressionable working class men, who have no idea how the world works. Instead of humbling themselves and learning about the world around them, or listening to the experiences of a diverse group of people who have experienced lifelong systemic poverty and discrimination, instead of interrogating the backgrounds of the elite class and the ways in which they have ascended the throne, the Proud Boys would rather cover their faces and pretend that the people screaming for help are far worse than the problems that they are screaming about.